The Cessna 210 Centurion is a six-seat, high-performance, retractable-gear, single-engine, high-wing general aviation aircraft which was first flown in January 1957 and produced by Cessna until 1985. Design and development. The early Cessna 210 had 4 seats with a Continental I-470 engine of 260 horsepower. It was essentially a Cessna 182 Beta which was added a retractable landing gear, swept tail, and a new wing. In 1961 the fuselage and wing were completely redesigned. The fuselage was made wider and deeper, and a third side window was added. The wing platform remained the same then straight taper to 44 inches chord at 208 inches from centerline, but the semi-Fowler flaps were extended outboard from wing station 100 to wing station 122, which allowed a lower landing speed. To compensate for the reduced aileron span, the aileron profile was changed and its chord enlarged. The 1964 Model 210D introduced a 285 horsepower engine and 2 small child seats set into the cavity which contained the main wheels aft of the passengers. In 1967 the Model 210G introduced a cantilever wing replacing the strut-braced wing. Its platform changed to a constant taper from root chord to tip chord. In 1970 the 210K became the first full 6-seat model. This was achieved by replacing the flat leaf springs used for the retractable main landing gear struts with tapered tubular steel struts of greater length. This allowed the tires to be nested farther to the rear of the fuselage, making room for the full-size rear seats. In 1979 the 210N model eliminated the folding doors which previously covered the 2 retracted main wheels. The tubular spring struts retract into shallow channels along the bottom of the fuselage and the wheels fit snugly in closed depressions on the underside of the fuselage. Some models featured de-icing boots as an option. The aircraft was offered in a normally aspirated version, designated the Model 210, as well as the turbocharged T210 and the pressurized P210 versions. The Centurion 2 was an option introduced in 1970 with improved avionics, and was available in both normally aspirated and turbocharged versions. On the 21st of May 2012 the Airworthiness Authority responsible for the design, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, issued an emergency airworthiness directive requiring 3,665 of the cantilever wing Cessna 210s to be inspected for cracks in the spar cap, wing spar and wing. Aircraft with more than 10,000 hours of airframe time were grounded immediately pending a visual inspection. Succession. In November 2007, Cessna acquired the assets of Columbia Aircraft Company. The Columbia 350 and 400 models were integrated into the Cessna single-engined range and redesignated as the Cessna 350 and Cessna 400. These aircraft replaced the Cessna 210 at the top end of the Cessna single-engined model line. Modifications. There are a wide range of modifications available for the Cessna 210, including Aeronautical Engineers Australia has developed a life extension package for 210s suffering from wing spar carry-through beam corrosion. Crown Aviation developed a Centurion edition T210, which is a remanufactured aircraft introduced in November 2008 that features a glass cockpit and new engine along with other minor refinements. O&M aircraft offers a Rolls-Royce Model 250 turboprop conversion of the T210 and pressurized Cessna P210N known as the Silver Eagle. Riley rocket restoration and addition of intercooler at a Continental TSIO 520 models to boost from 310 to 340 horsepower. Vitato Aviation offers the TN 550 conversion, which uses a Continental IO 550P engine with an IO 520 turbocharger with dual intercoolers and a larger alternator. Variants. The Cessna 210 was manufactured in 26 model variants: the C210, C210AD, the Centurion C210EH and AMP-J, Turbo Centurion T210FH and AMP-J, the Centurion 2 C210KN and AMP-R, the Turbo Centurion 2 T210KN and AMP-R, and the P210N and AMP-R. The 210N, T210N, and P210N versions were produced in the greatest quantity. The rarest and most expensive models were the T210R and P210R, which were produced only in small quantities in 1985-86. Several modifications and optional fittings are also available, including different engine installations, wingtip tanks, speed brakes, SDOL kits and gear door modifications. 4-seat production variant with a Continental IO 470 engine, 40-degree hydraulic flaps, gear doors, introduced in 1960, first flown in 1957. 575 built, 210 AA210 with a third cabin window in each side, introduced in 1961. 265 built, 210 BA210A with a cut-down rear fuselage, a rear vision window and a Continental IO 470S engine, introduced in 1962. 245 built, 210 CA210B with some minor changes, introduced in 1963. 135 built, 210D Centurion, a 210C fitted with a 285 horsepower Continental IO 520A engine and increased takeoff weight to 3,100 pounds, introduced in 1964. 290 built, 210E Centurion, a 210D with some minor changes, introduced in 1965. 205 built, 210F Centurion, Turbo Centurion, a 210E with some minor changes and optional 285 horsepower turbocharged Continental TSIO 520C engine, introduced in 1966. 300 built, 210G Centurion, Turbo Centurion, a 210F with a strutless cantilever wing and modified rear window, increased takeoff weight to 3,400 pounds, introduced in 1967. 228 built, 210H Centurion, Turbo Centurion A 210G with a new flap system and instrument panel. 210 built, flap range decreased to 30 degrees, fuel capacity increased from 65 to 90 US gal, introduced in 1968. 210J Centurion, Turbo Centurion, a 210H with reduced wing dihedral, different nose profile and a Continental IO 520J engine, introduced in 1969. 200 built, 210K Centurion, Turbo Centurion, a 210J with rear change to full seat to provide 6 seats, an IO 520L engine with 300 horsepower limited to 5 minutes, landing gear change, enlarged cabin with a single rear side window, weight increased to 3,800 pounds, produced 1,970. 71. 303 built, 210L Centurion, Turbo Centurion, a 210K with nose-mounted landing lights. The electrical system changed to 24-volt. The engine-driven hydraulic pump replaced with an electrical pump and a 3-bladed prop fitted. Improved aerodynamics led to an increase in approximately 8 knots in cruise speed. Produced 1972–76, 2070 built. 210M Centurion, Turbo Centurion, a 210L with an optional 310 horsepower TSI-0520R engine and minor changes. Produced 1977–80, 1381 built. 210N Centurion, Turbo Centurion, a 210M with open wheel wells for main landing gear and minor changes. Although this change appeared only on the C210N, most early models have had gear doors removed due to extensive maintenance and handling problems, leaving them similar to the N. Produced 1981–84, 1943 built. 210R Centurion, Turbo Centurion, a 210N with longer span stabilizers and minor changes. Produced 1985–86, 112 built. P210N Pressurized Centurion, a turbo 210N with pressurized cabin, 4 windows each side, with a 310 horsepower Continental TSI-0520AF engine. Produced 1978–83, 834 built. P210R Pressurized Centurion, a P210N with longer span stabilizers, increased takeoff weight and a 325 horsepower Continental TSI-0520CE engine. Produced 1985–86, 40 built. Conversion of pressurized Cessna 210P Centurion aircraft, fitted with a Pratt & Whitney Canada PT6A112, flat rated at 500 shp. Operators. Civil. The Cessna 210 is widely used by flight training schools, private operators, air taxi and commercial charter and companies. Military. Bolivia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Honduras, Honduran Air Force. Jamaica, Jamaica Defense Force. Mexico, Mexican Air Force. Philippines, Philippine Air Force. Panama, Paraguay, Paraguayan Air Force 210N. Paraguayan Naval Aviation 210N. Accidents and incidents. On 12 July 1968, Leonard Bendix hijacked a Cessna 210 from Key West, Florida, to Cuba. He was deported to the U.S. in September 1968. On 4 March 1971, he was sentenced to 10 years for kidnapping, while flying N6579X, an early Model 210. Famed test pilot Scott Crossfield crashed and died in the woods of Ludville, Georgia on April 19, 2006. The National Transportation Safety Board established the probable cause as the pilot's failure to obtain updated en route weather information, which resulted in his continued instrument flight into a widespread area of severe convective activity, and the air traffic controller's failure to provide adverse weather avoidance assistance, as required by Federal Aviation Administration directives, both of which led to the airplane's encounter with a severe thunderstorm and subsequent loss of control. On 9 August 1981, a Cessna 210M VHMDX crashed in a near Barrington Tops in NSW, killing all 5 on board. It is the only post-World War II incident in Australia in which the aircraft which remains missing. The ATSB reports mentions icing, violent weather, and instrument failure. Specifications. General characteristics. Crew 1. Capacity 5 passengers. Length 28 feet 2 in. Wingspan 36 feet 9 in. Height 9 feet 8 in. Wing area 175 feet squared. Empty weight 2,303 pounds. Max takeoff weight 4,000 pounds. Power plant 1 times Continental Motors TSI 0520R air-cooled turbocharged flat 6 310 horsepower. Performance maximum speed 204 knots at 17,000 feet. Cruise speed 193 knots at 20,000 feet. Stall speed 58 knots. CAS flaps down. Power off. Range 900 nmi. Econ cruise at 10,000 feet. Service ceiling 27,000 feet. Rate of climb 930 feet per minute. Wing loading 22.9 pounds feet squared. Power mass 0.078 horsepower pound.